Hello everyone, thanks for joining today. My name is Dan Watts, a DevRel Engineer here at SquaredUp. I work closely with our MSP partners and plugin developers, and I had 4 years experience working in an MSP. Today I'm here to present the Beyond HaloPSA webinar, Build the MSP Dashboard You've Always Wanted. So moving on, just quickly before we get into things, just a bit of housekeeping as usual. So we are recording, so there is no need to do a screen record or anything like that. We will be sending the recording on to anyone who is registered for the webinar, so do feel free to shoot it on to colleagues as well if you want to. This will include the Q&A bit at the end, so do feel free to reference back to your questions that you do ask if you do want to ask some. Mics are muted, so this isn't for today an interactive session. It's just myself presenting our demo here today. And as it says there, please do feel free to drop questions in chat as we do go through the session. We'll have people, team members from SquaredUp answering those questions, or even myself if there's any gaps to answer the questions, or we'll do it at the end. We'll make sure they get addressed. And stepping forward, just a quick agenda. I like to keep these as maximum times really, so there's no need to worry about going over this really. So welcoming the introductions, that's obviously what we're doing right now. Where HaloPSA reporting stops, so that's basically the problem statement. That's where we're going to address what we think the problem is and how SquaredUp can help. So that should take a maximum of 10 minutes. And we'll then run through our HaloPSA live dashboard build. So I'll be doing that and walking through how the plugin works for HaloPSA and SquaredUp, how you can build a pretty cool dashboard with it, how you can get started, and just generally how you can make your life a bit better when dealing with HaloPSA data. We'll then move forward to the real MSP stories. So just a couple quick case studies, just a couple slides on two different customers that both use SquaredUp for their HaloPSA data, and their lives have become a bit easier because of it. And to finish off, like I said, we'll have a quick Q&A session. It says 5 to 10 minutes there, but it obviously depends how many questions we get, and we'll cover those off at the end. Okay, so moving on and jumping into it, the HaloPSA reporting gap. Why native reporting only takes you so far? So we do hear it all the time from people who sign on to SquaredUp to make their HaloPSA reporting a bit better. The HaloPSA reporting tool is great. It's functional. You can get data out of it fairly easily, depending on what you want to do with it. And there aren't really limitations there in terms of what you can get out, but there are possible other limitations. So where it maybe has gaps or where it stops, like it says here, HaloPSA is great at running the data. It's great at managing the customers, managing the service desk. Even if you do use it for it, it's good at managing invoices and quotes and assets as well. But getting this data out can be difficult. And we do, like I said, hear it all the time. Getting data out into a single sort of pane of glass really, or a single place, can be difficult. You often need to run separate reports and then maybe even another report on top to combine that data. It's difficult to combine data that is for your service desk along with things like invoices, technician time scales, or how much time they're spending on projects. Even getting a breakdown of data from these different modules can be difficult from the native HaloPSA reporting tool. Especially if you aren't versed in things like SQL or things like that. Obviously, it's great if you have, a technician who can do that, or a data engineer who can do that, or even, these days like an AI tool that can help you build a query. But it still is time consuming. So it still takes time to, even if you're the best person at SQL in the entire world, combining data from many different modules here from HaloPSA and then sort of representing them in a nice visual way. Even if you're the best person at SQL in the world, it will take time. It will take, time away from that technician that they could be spending on other things, more productive things potentially. Oftentimes they're static, so it's, has a limited refresh rate oftentimes. Sometimes the reports you're building, they might not get requeried in real time. So let's say you have a very urgent ticket come in or something like that. It can take time for that ticket to be represented on a dashboard within HaloPSA. It's not, it's not really awful. It's not, multiple days or anything like that. But at the same time, it can take some time to be represented, especially if you're using reports from an export or something like that, or you've chosen to build a report in HaloPSA, then you're using it to export to a spreadsheet and then use that spreadsheet elsewhere. It's more areas where there could be stale data, and that's something that at SquaredUp we want to try and eliminate. We want to try and be as real time as possible. You can refer to SquaredUp as your source of truth, basically, and it is real time. And it can be hard to share. So in HaloPSA, there isn't just like a full-on share button, as far as I'm aware. Getting a clean view, especially one that's like branded or white labeled or anything like that, can be difficult when the person you're trying to share with, especially, isn't in your tenant or in your organization, or if you just want to share this stuff with customers, can be difficult. It's not really built for that potentially. It's in my opinion, it's very good at the internal data for the HaloPSA reporting system, but it's not the best at sort of if you want to share something with your customer. Oftentimes you have to export it to a spreadsheet, like I said, sanitize it, make sure you've not got anything sensitive in there, and then share it on. And then that has its own problems. If you're using this data for QBRs with your customers, the copy they have that you've exported a week ago, isn't the most up-to-date data. Wouldn't it be better to have a tool that they can just refer to and it's real time? So the better way, or what we think is the better way, is your HaloPSA data and every other tool in your stack all in one live dashboard tool. So we feel that SquaredUp. If I step forward, introducing SquaredUp, live dashboards for HaloPSA and your whole MSP stack. So obviously today we're talking in a very HaloPSA centric way, but there really is nothing stopping you from connecting other tools from your MSP stack as well, so RMM tools as well, or anything else you're using, even direct connections to customer tenants. So why use SquaredUp? What's so great about it? Why would I need it on top of HaloPSA and all my other tools? So first of all, it's very point and click and designed to be as easy as possible to use. We really, don't want to have people relying on SQL, basically. We really don't want that. We want it to be as visual and easy as possible. Obviously, we want those options. So if you do want to use SQL and you do want to lean on the HaloPSA reporting tool and just export that to what we're doing in SquaredUp, you can certainly do that. But just building a ticket dashboard or an invoice dashboard or anything like that, it shouldn't need a data engineer degree. It should not need a Claude subscription to write you a very complex SQL query. Wouldn't it be better just to click on something in SquaredUp and your data is right there? All of your PSA data, or HaloPSA data, I should say. So we support tickets, SLAs, invoices, quotes, assets, all the core sort of principles of HaloPSA, all on one dashboard. A lot of these are out in the box as well. So just when you generate your API credentials, which I can walk through in the demo, it's really, really easy. You just put those into SquaredUp. We build you a bunch of dashboards out of the box for these modules here, so tickets, SLAs, that kind of thing. And then you can use that as a jumping off point to maybe build something more complex or more tailored to what you're doing. Live accurate data, so it doesn't require a database or an export or anything like that, or a snapshot of the data from Halo. It is very real time. So if you, like I said, had someone raise a very urgent ticket, or a customer raise an urgent ticket, within 60 seconds that will be in SquaredUp. We have a refresh rate of 60 seconds, oftentimes quicker than that. So you can rely on this data. You're not worried about it being, a week old or a couple of days old. It is very real time, and we have, a lot of our customers use almost SquaredUp as, not just for this, but they use it as a wallboard. So in their office, or they have a dashboard per agent that the agent can refer to see their tickets, because it is so real time. They can see it come in when we're talking about tickets or invoices or anything like that. They can see it come in real time. They know what they're looking at is real, it's current, but they do also have the option to look historically as well. And shareability, obviously we're big on that. So I've talked about how live these dashboards are, how real time they are, but it makes it really easy to use things like our variable system to change the customer that a dashboard is being represented on, and then you can sort of share those as QBRs, exec reviews. You can build per client workspaces. So if you want an area for the customer to go to in SquaredUp that you can be sure is just their data and not anyone else's, you can also build that. And you can brand all this. So it makes it very easy to put a customer logo on the dashboard or anything like that. We've also got a lot of features coming in terms of branding and color sets and that kind of thing. You can already do it, but we're also making that very easy very shortly as well, with a dedicated UI. So there's a lot you can do in terms of once you've got this data in, obviously you want to make that as easy as possible for you. But then if you want to share it with your customers, either in QBRs or even just giving them a link to the dashboard, it's super, super easy and very cost effective. So HaloPSA and everything else. So what we always recommend is starting with the tool you use most, or the tool you're having problems with the most, or the tool you want to improve the most. Oftentimes that we find for MSPs, that's HaloPSA, just on the reporting side. But, even if you're using a different PSA or you're using a different, a set of tools, so you have a different RMM that you're connecting or integrating with your HaloPSA, or you want to represent data from customer tenants. So if you're managing customers, M365, Azure, anything else really, you can also build dashboards for those tools as well, and the data within them. As it says at the bottom there as well, if it has an API, SquaredUp can dashboard it. We have a lot of tools that you can basically dashboard anything or any data that comes back from an API really, really easily with our tools. So you don't need to build, a data export from an API. You don't have to snapshot it. Again, we have a lot of tools for just getting any data from any tool. Even, I'm talking here today in a customer management, MSP sort of vibe, but really we have a lot of customers that sometimes aren't MSPs. They're using it just to manage their internal, M365 Azure tenants or engineering teams or DevOps teams. So there's a lot you can do around it, and the scope is quite wide there. Okay, stepping through now. So very shortly, I'll do a live demo of SquaredUp. So this is going to show how easy it is to connect HaloPSA to SquaredUp, what the out-of-the-box sort of situation is, so what you get to start with, how you can expand on that and build on it, and a lot of our other features that aren't really HaloPSA specific, but will help you share PSA data with your customers or internally or anything you want to do there. As I said, more specifically, so we'll be connecting HaloPSA. I will specifically show tickets, quotes and invoices, assets and clients. I will also show the other sources and those dashboard variables. I did mention those earlier. It's a great way of not having to build dashboards for each and every customer. You can just sort of build one dashboard and then very easily switch or toggle between customers to represent it. It's great. It's a great tool if you want to scale up. So a lot of people say, how can I scale up SquaredUp to represent my 500 strong client base? Dashboard variables is one of those tools that can help with that. Okay, so I'll jump over now. Okay, let's jump into the demo. So here we are in SquaredUp. SquaredUp at its core is a dashboarding and observability platform. So it's really designed to bring in all of your tools, no matter what they are, into a very appealing looking dashboard like this, but also with a ton of extra features for monitoring and shareability. So you can end up building something like this. I mean, this is kind of a bit all over the place. It's a bit sporadic in terms of what data's here, but it's just here to illustrate the kind of dashboard you can get and the kind of data you can put in here. So we've got a lot of stuff from HaloPSA, so all your service desk and ticket metrics, SLAs, open tickets. We can also get invoices, quotes, assets even. So who does the asset belong to, that kind of thing. You'll notice there's a few other ones here as well though. So we've got, if you're like a CSP, so you're monitoring the cloud for your customers, you can integrate with Azure directly and get your metrics there. You can get things like cloud costs over time. You can get, RMM tools, various RMM tool data, M365 licenses and usage activity as well. So all of this can help you support the data that is in HaloPSA. It's a common sort of use case to sort of manage your customer in HaloPSA, but you may want to get data from actually what the customer is doing as well from their environments. So this is a dashboard called My MSP Metrics, obviously. This is powered by these data sources here. So data sources are essentially plugins in SquaredUp language. So as you can see, these data sources here, AWS, Azure, HaloPSA as well, these are currently implemented on this Beyond HaloPSA workspace. So this workspace, the workspace system in general is used really to split out different data sources and different dashboards for various use cases. So for the MSP use case, this is typically customers. So you may want to make your own workspace per customer. That way you can do access control for each customer, make it easy for you to share it without having to worry about data that is going over to the other workspaces. Okay, so we have this list of data sources that's currently on this workspace. When you first sign up to SquaredUp, this will be empty. Obviously, you wouldn't have anything connected. So you would need to go into this little plus, so add data source. We've got a ton of different sort of tools in here, even fun stuff like the FIFA World Cup. But also, what typically you will do is type in Halo. So we'll look at Halo ITSM, HaloPSA. If I click on HaloPSA, this is all the data we need. So you just need your HaloPSA server URL. This can be got from your HaloPSA portal, essentially. If you go into the settings and then integrations, all of this data is listed here, and you can generate in the view applications list. Okay, I think I thought I would just jump into HaloPSA just to show you how you generate those credentials I mentioned when you add the data source. You just go to integrations, HaloPSA API, your resource server that you want to put in here. So if I go back in here, go to Halo. This is where you put it. So this resource server here. Oh, it's bugging out a little bit. If you go to the resource server, that's where you put that's what you put in here, essentially. If I go back down to then view applications, so I can just click new, give it something a name. So call it SquaredUp or something like that, SquaredUp API. You can give it a description if you like. You need to put client ID and secret, and that's where you will have your client ID and your client secret. Don't worry, I am going to delete this so you can't use it. But then you can put your login type. So we generally recommend like an API only agent that you generate for this. You can give, and that doesn't consume a user license for Halo, I don't believe. And then you can give that permissions to see everything you need. Speaking of permissions, you need to go in here. You can either give it all, which frankly I don't really recommend. You just need to go through and tick the read ones. We only ever need the read only permissions. We don't do any remediation or editing of data. So all you need is to go through and add the read permissions. The exact permissions are listed in those docs when you go ahead and add the plugin. So yeah, that's what you need to do. And once you hit generate and save it, put these two strings essentially into SquaredUp and hit test and add. So you paste them in here, hit test and add, and then straight away you'll be taken back to something that looks like this with all of your own data. Okay, so now that you've got your HaloPSA added, I'm sure you'll agree that was pretty easy. You just need to generate those creds and paste them in. That's all you need to do. So you will have the same set of out-of-the-box dashboards. So let's explore a few of those now. They can also be accessed on this drop-down. So for example, ticket summary. This is a good jumping off point to use for your tickets and service desk. So as you can sort of see, everything that's currently sort of open by their status, by their priority as well, everything that's pending. So this is a good global view of your service desk. You can also get your tickets KPI view. Again, this is all out of the box. So you can get started with this really quick. I'm changing the time frame, as you can see, just because our data is a bit old. But this gives you certain things like a resolution rate, resolution by age, average resolution time. I guess this is fairly like unrealistic data because it's just our demo environment. But as you can see, it gives you a pretty good breakdown as to the kinds of data you can get from your HaloPSA service desk. I mentioned earlier dashboard variables. So you get a version of these dashboards with that feature enabled. So what that means, if I go into the clients drop down, you can sort of see if I go to the tickets KPI, I have that same dashboard, but now I have this, which is what's called a dashboard variable. So this allows you to choose the customer that you want represented on each dashboard. So if I click on Acorn Construction, which is again a demo customer, and I change the time frame. Actually, I'll make it slightly longer. So this now represents all of the tickets from this one customer. But if I wanted to change this, I can do so. So if I change this now to, let's try this customer, the dashboard will then change. So as you can see, we've got a different set of tickets as it's a different customer. This is great because if you are building dashboards for hundreds of customers, or you're just managing hundreds of customers as an MSP, you don't have to build hundreds and hundreds of dashboards per customer. You can just build the one and then scope it to those customers. You can do the same thing with agents. So I'll take the same dashboard example, tickets KPI, but this time it's scoped to agents. So I can say, let's pick Mike. We can see what Mike's got going on with his tickets. And then again, when I change it to someone else, let's say Tim Wheeler, the list of tickets will change. So again, it makes it really easy. You don't have to build tons and tons of dashboards, and that makes it scalable. So if you are worried about how you can scale this out to many customers, right out of the box, we do handle a vast amount of them, just because you don't have to build a dashboard per customer necessarily. Obviously, the same can be done by team right out the box. So if I wanted to sort of build something brand new or just base it off this, so let's say I'm happy with this tickets KPI dashboard, but I would like a little bit more data to play with, or I want a different set of data, I can then copy this dashboard. So what this means is I then take ownership of a copy of it. So it appears here in my dashboard list. I can then go to edit, and it's all very drag and drop. I can sort of drag this around. I can add a new tile. I can click data, and then it's going to open my data editor. So obviously it's going to present me with everything that I've got connected. So this is every data source I've got connected, but I'm going to do HaloPSA, obviously, because we're here in a Halo capacity. This allows me to just choose all of the data I want to do without having to use any SQL. So if I want to get my list of assets, let's say, I can go assets. It then allows me to scope this list by client. So it's going to pull in those list of clients that were scoped or indexed earlier. I can click on this, and I'll do a couple more as well. You can do some searching as well if you want to find a specific customer. And I'll add one more. So now I've got 3 clients selected. I can choose some parameters, whether the asset's active or not. And then straight away, I've then got my list of assets here. I get a bit of a detail as to what it is, who owns it. But yeah, that's a decent one for assets. So I can save that here. I'll keep it as a table, and then save it on the dashboard, ready to go. Other data streams, you can do a little bit more customization on. So if I go to add one more tile, and we'll stick with HaloPSA, let's pick some tickets. So we want to get some service desk metrics. This is going to show me a different set of parameters I can choose. So for my tickets, I can choose from my list of, I can either keep it global by picking nothing, or I can just choose individual customers. I can do the same for agents. I can do the same for teams. I can do the same for multiple statuses as well. So if I want to just show only my closed ones, I can certainly do that. So, or if let's say I want to just keep everything open, I don't want to see any closed ones, I'll keep all open. So I'll do everything that's open. And we can keep it to a certain type if we want to, but I'll keep it global for now. Once I hit apply on that, we've got a ticket in the background. It's only scoped to 30 days, but I can make that go a lot longer. So let's go from last year. And now we've got a pretty substantial list of tickets that are open. As you can see, we've got a ton of data back. But let's say we want to bring back custom fields, or we want to bring back something a little bit more. Just some more data, basically. So if I click on my parameters, I can click return specific columns. And if there's a custom column I want to add in, or just anything more, or any more fields, basically, I can click on them and it will be added. So let's click on estimate. And And actually, let's add a couple more. This will only be represented if on the table if the column is populated by anything. So if I go back over here, as you can see, data signed has some tickets populated with some data here, so that's why it's being shown. But let's say I want to visualize this a bit better. So right now we've got a table, that's great. But what if I want to understand my amount of tickets by agent, let's say? So let's go to filter, group, and sort. I can then group it by agent, and it's by default going to count it for me. So now I've got a count of all my tickets per agent. I can then represent that on like a donut graph or a bar chart or something like that. And I can turn on monitoring. So I can turn on monitoring here by clicking on. I can then please alert me if, or SquaredUp can proactively alert me essentially if this data is breaching a certain threshold that I set. So let's say if anyone's got more than 8 tickets, we can sort of see that there. And if I lower it slightly, so let's lower it so we actually get a flag. So we can see here, we've now got some above this one, so we've got an error. When I hit save, that will show up on the dashboard. And that monitor will turn red because it's breaching that at the moment. So I can then, because I have a monitor set up, if I click into monitors, this area here will summarize every monitor I've set up, and I can send proactive notifications out to Slack or Teams or anything really, anything via a webhook as well, or ServiceNow, whatever you use. So this allows you to be very proactive as an MSP. You can understand if a customer's sort of SLA is too low very easily, or they've raised many urgent tickets in the last month, and you can be proactively alerted to that. So now I've used this as a base. I've used my tickets KPI dashboard as a base, but I can very easily add things to it. And the idea really is you can build upon this until you get something like this, where you can see your most critical metrics from various different tools. By no means are you limited to one set of tool on a dashboard. You can add various different tools from RMM tools or anything else onto a specific dashboard. Once I'm happy with this and I want to share it, you probably notice there's a share button in the top right. So I can either schedule this out to be sent on a schedule, daily, weekly, monthly, really up to you. So if you want to use this as like a QBR thing, you can sort of proactively send this out to the customer automatically. Or I can share this with specific people. So I can share this with my interactive users by just typing their name in, as you might expect. Or I can generate a read-only link. So I can generate a link here that I can then share, and the customer or whoever it is can always use to get back to this dashboard. So that's a brief overview of SquaredUp. Everything I've shown here today can be done for other tools as well. Obviously, I've shown sort of how you get connected to SquaredUp, how you can represent all this data and build upon it from HaloPSA. But let's say you wanted to sort of do something with Huntress. If you're using Huntress for your SIEM or EDR, this is the kind of data you can see. We can get security metrics for things like Ninja One. We can look at things like device overviews. So we can combine all of this data, no matter what it is, whether it's from your RMM, PSA, no matter what, into one dashboard, similar to something like this, where we can get a great overview as to what we're doing. So if you're thinking about a very specific use case that you might use this for and you want to explore it, we will be offering sort of a call or a call link that we'll be sending out with the recording. So if you want to have a chat with myself or anyone else in the team regarding your specific use case, or you just want to expand on a longer demo, we can certainly do that. So yeah, I'll jump back to the slides now. Okay, thanks for sticking with me with that demo. Hopefully you found it useful. So at this point, I'm going to jump into just a couple case studies before we finish, just around 2 customers that we have that really sort of sign on board just for HaloPSA, and this since sort of expanded their use case, but they really started and still the core of their use case is HaloPSA. So we're just going to cover what they replaced, what they built, and really what's changed with them. So Focus IT is the first one. So they're a managed service provider, MSP, straight out of Macclesfield, United Kingdom. again, they signed on for HaloPSA as the main use case, but they've since sort of expanded this to other tools. But they really enjoyed the fact they can get started with HaloPSA and SquaredUp within less than a day. So they just generated those client credentials I showed in the demo. This took 5 minutes, and then once they put it into SquaredUp, they have something they can use within 5 minutes, maybe even less. So they were really happy they could get those out of the box dashboards and then expand on them really easily. The main use case, I believe, is to sort of build dashboards for their agents on their service desk. So they were having issues with individual agents having to jump into individual tickets or ticket lists in Halo just to understand what the statuses of their tickets were, essentially. And they were looking at other tools for this, some of which were 80% more expensive than SquaredUp. So SquaredUp was quite a cost-efficient solution. I'm not going to jump too far into pricing or anything, but that's because we operate on a per interactive user basis. We don't charge for read-only users at the moment. So that's why this was quite a big saving in terms of cost to get this kind of dashboarding tool. But overall, as they said, it's far easier to use than anything else they've tried, and the data is consistently accurate. So that sort of goes back to the fact this is all read-only data in real time. So every 60 seconds, you'll get a refresh of this data, so that you can really, really trust it. And as it says, as you saw in the demo as well, really easy to use, really easy to get up to speed with and expand on. Axiotech is the next one. So this is another MSP based out of Fort Worth in Texas. So again, HaloPSA is the sort of main use case there. So live exec dashboards, they run, I believe it's quarterly QBRs, I believe, as well. So both for their exec reviews and their QBR customer reviews, they can use SquaredUp to, rather than having to export all this data out to a spreadsheet and try and build something from it, they can just build a cool SquaredUp dashboard and use them for both of these. So both for execs and their client QBRs. They've got a bit more of a financial focus. So they use it more for the invoicing and payment side. They do use the service desk element as well, but this allows them to sort of get one cohesive view. So they can get a overview of all their tickets and service desk, then link it to the relevant client invoices, quotes, that kind of thing. So as it says, SquaredUp lets them do that in minutes, and the data is right there. So it just means they don't have to hunt around over the different Halo modules through the Halo reporting system. They can all do it. Even sort of non-technical users can achieve a quite cohesive view in terms of all of this data together. So next steps, what we recommend is jumping on the website and starting the free tier. It's not really a trial, so that's kind of wrong. But there is no real expiry date. You can sign on and connect up to 3 tools, I believe, 3 integrations. So that's Halo and 2 others. I don't even believe this requires a credit card or anything like that. You don't have to speak to anyone. You can just hit the button and away you go. Once you finish this webinar, you can jump over to the website. You probably within 10 minutes, you could have something what I was just showing in terms of the out-of-the-box dashboards. Connecting HaloPSA, you saw how easy that was. Again, if you have any issues, you can let us know, but it's a pretty easy way to do it. You just sort of generate those client credentials, hit the button, and you have something to work with. And thirdly, you can book a call with us. We're really open to it. If you want to, even if you have connected HaloPSA to SquaredUp and you're seeing some value, if you want to know how you can go that step further and connect other tools, or you want to understand what the best use case really is for combining data within SquaredUp, we're really, really happy to jump on a call and walk through your specific use case. Cool. So that's it for the slides and the demo. So hopefully you've been dropping some questions in chat as we've been going. So we'll look at those now shortly. And yeah, thank you ever so much for sitting with me today and looking through the webinar and exploring SquaredUp. Do really recommend jumping on and trying it out. And yeah, we'll jump into the Q&A. Cool. Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks, James, for your question earlier. Yeah, if anyone has any questions, drop them in. We'll give it sort of 30 seconds or so for someone to drop something in. If not, we'll probably leave it there. Like I said on the webinar, we do offer. We will be sending a follow-up email with the recording and the opportunity to book a call with myself or any other member of the team. So yeah, we'll just give it probably a minute or so. But yeah, really hope you found it useful, and do really encourage you jumping on to the website and sort of kickstarting trial. Or if you've jumped on this webinar as an existing SquaredUp user, yeah, again, do feel free to book a call. We're happy to sort of walk through things, or if you want to find out what's new with SquaredUp, even if it's outside of the Halo sort of space, we can cover that off. Cool. So yeah, we'll give it like 15 more seconds or so. Just in case someone's got any last thoughts. But yeah, if not, then yeah, I think we're okay to leave it there. And yeah, if not, do feel free to reach out. And thank you again so much for your time today, and have a great rest of your day.